And once again, I want to say welcome to CalPADS Basic. What I'm going to do today for you is I'm going to try to give you everything that you need to know as a base for CalPADS start, a good foundation to get started. This is not going to go into the details of how to put everything together in CalPADS because you're not ready and you don't need to worry about that yet. What you need to worry about now is getting a great foundation, get a good start, because if you have a good start, you're going to have a good ending. So let's talk about the sequence, the training sequence. In the training, this is called, we renamed it to CalPADS Basic so that you would get that ideal, that you're getting a base to get started. And what I consider that you should already have taken was the privacy training, the CalPADS privacy training, and also the CalPADS intro data coordinator orientation training. Those two trainings you should have taken before. If you haven't taken those trainings before, there may be certain terms so you may not understand completely, but you'll pick that up after you take that training and after you complete some of the other trainings. So in the actual CalPADS basic navigation and administrating training, we're going to learn the login. We're going to learn about CalPADS homepage, and we're going to sort features, left navigation, what it means to have a CalPADS container, and then the administration of CalPADS. So my objective here today is I want you to be able to identify something. What I want you to be able to identify is all the navigation points in CalPADS, every point in CalPADS, in many ways in CalPADS to move around and get to the point you need to get to efficiently and easily. Why is that? It's because that is the base that you need to know. You need to know it. CalPADS is a web-based system. It's kind of like when you're doing any type of social media or any other web-based system. It's just because it's a state system or something like that, we kind of push back and we say, oh, we get that feeling. Don't worry about that. It's the same concept. So you're going to be able to identify the navigation paths that is required for CalPADS reporting. You're going to be able to determine which features you need to use correctly in order to get that information in front of you fast and efficiently. And then you're going to be able to perform and understand the submission process, when to use online maintenance to actually go through and the features that you need, and when to use batch upload and the features in batch upload. And then navigate, maintain users, and approval process. You're going to be able to navigate that, and then I'm going to give you some workarounds and maybe some quick tips and some support ideals that will help you get through roadblocks, because you're going to run in some roadblocks in CalPADS. One of the new things that's going to be dealing with CalPADS is it's going to take the two of you, the SEPA administrator and the CalPADS administrator, working together as a team in order to certify. It's not CalPADS administrator hits the button and it's done. It's not that process anymore. We'll talk about that later. You get more information about that in fall one, in the fall one training. So CalPADS, you as an LA admin, you have an expectation. One of the basic expectation was to come to the basic training, and you feel that expectation already. You're one step ahead. And with the basic training, if you haven't had it already or you haven't already submitted, you've got to have that LEA admin application on file with CDE. Why? Because those two things put together will equal a CalPADS admin account. Okay, so if you're using a old account that's not really associated to you, you have to, put in an admin account that has your name and is associated to you, because why? You are responsible for the data that is put in CalPADS. You are the person that clicks the button that says, hey, yeah, this data is representing our LEA. Make sure you have that set up for you. And then you'll know about updates and known issues. Those are two things that you really want to keep in mind. CalPADS navigation, streamline process for passwords. That's one of the features, and streamline process for roles. And you have the ability to assign users whatever they need to actually get what they want in CalPADS. After this training, I'm going to expect you guys to feel comfortable knowing about what is in the ODS, feel comfortable about navigating the CalPADS menus and submenus, and be efficient utilization of the system features, and be able to understand how to assign the appropriate roles to the people that are going to be helping you, and know who the people are that's going to be helping you. You're going to be able to assign roles and know where to get information about those roles that you're going to assign. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And that's what I want us to learn how to do. CalPADS application. Most of the work is done locally. That's the key. That's the major key. If you keep that in mind, that is one of the major keys that you want to keep in mind, is you want to do it right in your local system. That's what you should be doing right now, working in your local system, getting everything as correct as you possibly can, okay? And then once you've got it to where you feel like, okay, I got everything looking as best as I can it to be looking, what you would do is you would send those files into CalPADS. You would send them up as an extract, upload it from your local system, and then in addition, you can upload single records or single elements for individuals that you need. Say you forgot to put it in the upload batch file, you would do that in online maintenance. But you don't want to use online maintenance as like a error checking or just putting everything in online maintenance. You don't want to use online maintenance. Why? Because that is what slows the system down, is doing that. There is batch file templates, and we'll get into that later. That's where you can key the data into a spreadsheet and then upload it, just like if you had the system that created the whole file for you, like that. Remember, key point, the online maintenance is for point element correction. So if you got one little thing you need to go to change, go in there and change it in online maintenance, and then go back to your local system and make that change. Why? Because CalPADS doesn't care if the data is right, because that's not its job. That's your job as an LEA admin. You are the brains behind the operation, not CalPADS. So all CalPADS cares about is your local system's data matches what's in CalPADS. They got to mirror each other. They got to be exactly alike. But there's a little thing in between that. That's your brain. You're the one that determines that this data in my local system is correct. Therefore, the data in CalPADS is correct. And this is exactly what I want the state and federal government to use to make my funding and make my students look like stars to the rest of the world. Okay? That segues right into this. Why is the data important? Because of these reports. Because what you put in your local system ends up in these reports. These reports are facing the public. You got data quests, you got ed data, you got student groups, you got the newspapers. All of those people, they're looking at that data. That's why you gotta be the brains of the operation. You make sure that what you get in your local system is correct, and when it goes across over to CalPADS, the only errors you're correcting once it goes over to CalPADS is something, say, you overlooked or your system had a glitch. You're making it mirror your local system. So that's what you want to do. That this is why it's important. And the other reason why it's important is because we're helping our students. We're helping our children. I have 4 children. You're helping my children. So what you want to do is, it's going to be reporting the student absentees. It's going to be reporting the data, the student discipline. You know, if you make a mistake in the student discipline, it's going to show up on reports to the state, you know. And then you got your student demographics, you got your student English language acquisition staff, even the staff, all that's reported to CalPADS. And from your local system, from your local school, from the desk where that child is sitting, you're responsible for that. That's why it's important. You're responsible for that one kid. CalPADS systems design. You as a LEA will be putting information into your local system, and that information is going into the wonderful world of CalPADS, the cloud. It goes up there and it mingles with all the other people that are doing it, right? Okay, also the SPED system which is K. Smith to CalPADS. They're putting their information in their SES, their local system, crunching it, pushing a button, and it goes right into the cloud too. Notice the difference. You're getting information in, you're getting information back. Okay, it's going both ways. SPED system is only going one way. They hitting a button, it's going into CalPADS. And then they got to come back, make the correction if they need to, talk to you about making that correction, about the rows that you need, and put it back in there. Then also we have the California Department of Social Services. They're putting, your direct cert information, your foster information in and out of CalPADS. And then you got the students testing and the testing systems that are taking information from CalPADS to make sure that that is accurate. It all makes this big village called CalPADS, okay? So CalPADS design, this information that you're putting in, that little address that you're putting in CalPADS, for that student is being used by someone in this big design. Okay, keep that in mind. How's that the components of CalPADS work? This side puts stuff in CalPADS. Down here, they get stuff in and out. LEA user, say you assign a person, you're the person, all you want to do, if you're the LEA admin, all you want to do is look at the reports and click the approval button. Okay, maybe that's it. But you want to break it down to different levels on the site level, or having someone else to help you to punch the data in so it goes into CalPADS. Okay, you guys are going to be putting the information in and out like that. It goes through the cloud portal for CalPADS, and then the first stage is exactly what I said. It's called staging. Why is that? Because it's staging the data. It's getting the data from your different local systems integrated together so it can combine with all the other data that's being put into CalPADS from all these other systems, Aries, all these other systems, school-wise, boom, boom. They have their own way of doing it. Something needs to stage it so it all fits together. It all uses that primary key, and you can work with it. Okay. Then once it's done that, it's going into what we call the operational data store, the ODS. What is that? I'm a visual person, so the ODS is like the news feed on your social media. You ever been on your news feed of one of the social like that? You see a picture you like, wow, yeah. Oh, I wanna download that picture. Then the phone screensaver cuts on, you bring it back up, and boom, where is that picture? It's gone by. All these people were putting the information in. It's constantly moving. That's kind of like the CalPADS ODS. If you think about it, the information that's being put in by everybody can't sit still. It has to be generated, it has to be mixed up like a cake or whatever, until it blends together to make state reporting snapshots. Snapshot is like we're on one of the shopping networks online like that, and you go through, oh, I want this product. You grab it, boom, and you go through, you say, okay, put your card in or you PayPal, whatever, put it in and get the confirmation. You say, what happened if they say I didn't get my money? So what do? You hold the power button down, you hold the bottom volume button down, and you do a screen capture. That's the same thing as a snapshot. Snapshots cannot be changed. It's when you get it to a point that you say, oh, this is a point I want to check and make sure everything is right. It doesn't mean that it's right completely, that you're not going to make any changes. What it means is I want you to stop for a minute so I can see what you're doing. That's exactly what it means. Okay. So you got that snapshot of the reports. That's the ones, you would say, you'll find out in fall one. I'm not going to run it for the guys, but that's the concept of snapshots. It stops the data for a period of time. The ODS is still moving around, boom, 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 like the newsfeed, but you got that stopped report that you can do something with, or you can send out so people will know at that point in time, that second, that day, this is what this data that looks like. I spend a little extra time on that, trying to get that basic concept into your mind, the way ODS, staging, and snapshots work. At 10 p.m., that's when you go into ODS, and I'm going to show you where that is to look at a report. Then you got to keep in mind that that report reflects 10 p.m. of the previous day. That's all I'm trying to say. Let's move on to the next slide. Snapshots. We talked about that. They're going to be a part of your fall 1, fall 2, and those are the ones where you're going to be working of your charter, your LEA, your district, to the state and to the federal governments and to the newspapers or whatever like that. So just remember, snapshot is a picture of what you want them to see, okay? So that brings us to navigating around in CalPads. And so I'm a visual person, so I'm going to take you in CalPads, show you the navigation process. So CalPads navigation. So for the next, I'm going to say for the next probably 40 slides, you can use those as reference because I'm going to demonstrate everything that's in those 40 slides in the demo. Basically use the PowerPoint as something you can actually refer to later when you get that. So let's get started. I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to bring up my browser. Okay. This is the wonderful world of CalPads. So get used to this. This is the place where you're going to be at. Up here in the top left-hand corner, we have the CalPads icon. This icon, because it's useful once you get into CalPads. If you're in a location in CalPads and you want to go right back to home, you'll click on the icon. This section of CalPads, terms and conditioning. You remember when I was talking about the application, how important it is for you to actually make sure it's in your name, make sure it's your application, because these terms say that when you check this box, if something goes wrong, they come after. So in other words, what I'm saying, read it one time, make sure you read through it. You know, I know if you're like me, what happens, I'll say, man, it's more than 2 paragraphs, I'm going to skim it. Actually read it one time in your life. Logging in. First of all, you have already put in your application. We already talked about it. And you've got your response back for your application. And you got your email from CDA saying, hey, here's, go, you know, reset your password, get your password in. You have your username, and that's usually your email address, okay? The domain email address that you use. And then you got your password. That's the password section. And this right here is saying, oh, I read this and I agree to this. You know, I'm knowledgeable about what I'm supposed to do when I'm in CalPads, and that's what that means. Then you have your login button. That's a button that allows you to log in, and then you can remember your login information. And then you have your forgot password. But here, what you do, you just click on the password. I forgot password. When you click on I forgot password, you put in your email address, the one that is associated to your LEA admin account, and click submit. Once you click submit, what happens is it sends another email to you, and that other email has, click on this link to reset your password. And you reset your own password without the help of CSIS support, without putting in a ticket or anything, and boom, what happens? You check the box and you log in. We have a YouTube channel, CSIS YouTube channel. On the CSIS YouTube channel, there is a video walkthrough of the whole login process and reset process. And you can go through that. It's really short clip, maybe about 7 minutes. You can go through that and play it forward, backwards, slow, speed it up. And if you have a problem, just put a shortcut on your desktop and click and go into that. Okay. Now, what happened while we were talking and while I was looking out the window, the CalPads homepage loaded. This is the CalPads homepage. I'm going to tell you, up here in the top left-hand corner, you have, this is called a show hide button. You click it once, the left menu, navigation menu goes away. You click it again, it comes back. And the reason why I'm telling you about that, you know, CalPads can be used on mobile devices such as your phone or anything like that. If the screen gets too crowded, it will come up like this. You won't have the left navigation bar, but this button will be up at the top like that, and you can activate it. So if you ever come into CalPads and it comes in this way and you say, oh, where's my left navigation? just know that one, you have right hand corner, you probably have it where your screen, you're not doing full screen and your screen's too small. That's one way to fix it. The other way to fix it is just click on this left navigation, okay? And as I said before, this logo has now activated. It's a way to get back home if you get lost. And the user menu, it allows you to get, like when you hover over these icons here, it gives you, it actually gives you a hint. It allows you to get help, gets to your profile, change your password, and get logged out. This is where you would get that at. So if I go here, if I click on it, you have these options. These are the options that we spoke of. And then you can log out if you need to log out of CalPADS. Now, a little helpful hint, I can click here all day long on this little red chevron and nothing will happen. All day, wire my finger out. What you have to do in CalPADS is hover over the actual drop down. When you click on the actual drop down of the organization indicator, it gives you a list of all the organizations that you are associated with, all the ones that you been given permissions to. And that segues into what you're going to see in CalPADS. You're only going to have access to what you've been given access to in CalPADS. So if I go here and let's say I think it's this one here, and I select that, CalPADS has changed my organization, my roles, my access to what is associated to ABC Unified CELPA. So everything that I have access to will show up in CalPADS, and only that. So if you ever get in here and you have multiple organizations that you're associated with, and you get in here and you get that big red gradual sign across the top that says access denied, access denied, that means that you don't have access and the roles are not granted for that. So what would you do? You would go into the admin area, which we're going to talk about later. So I might as well get ready. On the left hand side here, this is the left nav. It starts with the home page, which is what we're on. We have the online maintenance. And when you click on the chevron here for the online maintenance, it opens a sub menu. Okay, that's a word that we want to use when you're dealing with support and you're trying to tell them where you're at. I went to online maintenance and I'm looking at the sub menu with the data container of student data. So as a new user, you send the application in and the application comes back from CDE and you log in, you're only going to have one row. CDE is only going to assign you that one row. Okay, so what you would do is the left nav, it's got the upload, view submission, it has the where you can check on certification status, reports, extracts, admin, help, quick search, all these things, and we'll talk about it a little more. But the most important thing is you'll go to the admin function here. And let's talk about, at this time, user management. Why am I talking about that? Because if I was a first person, I got logged in, the first problem that I would see if I was brand new is I can't get to a lot of things in CalPADS. And why is that? It's because, as I said before, when you get your new account, they only assign the admin roles. So if I click here, went to user management, okay, and then I'd put in my email address that I have. CalPADS starts thinking, key point, keep your browser cache clean. That will save you a lot running around in circles. So keep all your browsers clean. Because what happens is CalPADS refers to the browser cache a lot. You know, when things happen, your browser cache, sometimes you might get something in there that corrupts it. And when it corrupts it, what happens is you'll start seeing things that's not there. you know, not really there. You'll see things that, I changed that data. I changed it, uh, you know, yesterday. And why is it still showing it? One of the first things the support guys and girls will say is clear your cache, clear your browser cache. So if you take that out of the mix in the beginning, if you know about that, and that's part of your basic concrete foundation, you're 3 steps ahead of the game already. Okay, so what did I just do? I put that in here, and as you noticed, when I put in my email address, CalPads went to my browser cache and said, hey, that email address is associated to Marshall Isbell. And it filled that in too. That can be an enemy for you too, because when you're into filling things in, it will put other things in here. So that's another reason why you have to do that. So let's take a look at what we have on this user management screen. Across the top here, these are called breadcrumbs. And the reason why they're called breadcrumbs, you remember the story of Hansel and Gretel? Okay, they use breadcrumbs to make sure that they knew how to get back from where they are. Same principle. What you would do is if you're here and I wanted to go back to the admin page, which gives me a different view of the page. If I click here, it gives me all the submenus in the middle of the page. So if I want to go back, I go back here and I'm back here and I put in my email address. So, and CalPads does allow you to put in partial so it can do search. And it gives you a list of all the ones that's close to your name, and you see, I don't even appear on this list. I'm not at the top of the list. Oh man. Okay. So I'm just going to do it this way. Browser cache. See how that worked? Look at all the different ones I have here. It's the same name, but the browser is wanting to fill that in. That's why you want to clear that out every once in a while. So if I click here and I click search, it's going to bring me to my account. And this is my account. And the other key point when you're dealing with user management is when you do find the results and that person is in that results, the second important things you want to do is look up here at the top and make sure that your organization matches who you want to work with. Okay. And then you just click at it. Okay, it shows me that I'm here. It shows me that I have 14. This little number here tells you how many roles that are assigned under the CEPA or even the LEA, either one, it doesn't matter. This tells you the org type and the organization name that I have permissions and roles to work with. So you can click on that and it will tell you what is assigned. So the way I was talking before, by clicking on edit, it brings up this modal. This is called a modal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's going to look like. You're just going to have the LEA, the actual LEA role. Maybe it's this one. Notice what just happened? I clicked here. I switched roles. I still have permission, but it took me directly there. I didn't have to log in or log out. Same thing if I go to this one and I switched again. I went to there. It says I'm in CEPA 3. This is one row. It says I have one row. That's what you're going to see. It's going to say LEA administrator, and if you're a CEPA administrator, it's going to say CEPA administrator. And with this one, you're not going to have a lot of access. You're going to have access mainly to the admin user management. I told you about the breadcrumbs. I told you about looking at the organization indicator. Across the top here, you have other options you can use to search. You can use the user list. You can use users and roles. By clicking on that, it's going to take you here, and you can look up for users and roles. When I go back here, go here, go here, make sure I got that, make sure I got that, go search. Make sure everything is correct here. Make sure that telephone number in. If you got an extension, put it in there. If I need a reset, I can do initialize a reset here, and then edit here like that. It says I only have one role, so I go in here and edit. That's the first thing you want to do, and then I go in and pick by, it gives you the CEPA type, it gives you the org type, which could be LEA or whatever, and the organization that you want them associated to. And you can even give them down to school level. But then you go in and you have these buttons here to add one at a time, or you can hold the control key down and just click away. Boom, boom. The ones that you need to give, and then just give them that rows. Or you can use this one. This will take all the rows, and then you would click save. And what I would usually do is I'd just click on the organization indicator again, just to make sure that it goes through there. And then it should, there you go. Up at the top, CalPADS is talking to you. That little indicator ping pong ball that goes back and forth, that's letting you know that it's working and that your browser is not just broken or nothing like that. So you want to keep in mind with that. So if you notice, when I made that change, what rows that the change that I made stuck. Sometimes with CalPADS, if there's known issues, if there's problems with rows, if they're making some changes, you'll do everything perfectly right, and you'll come back and it's not changed. This is a way you can see if it's correct. So once I've done that, I can go back to home, and everything that I have access to, I'll be able to access. So if I click here, what do I get? I can access it. I click here, what do I get? Access denied. Why is that? Why did I get access denied when I just assigned all the roles that I had available for me in the user manual? Okay, I'll give you a clue. Because I didn't assign the correct roles for this ODS reports. Okay. And why didn't I do that? Is because they were not available. And as I said in the beginning, if you don't have the correct roles, you're going to get access denied. And because I'm on a CEPA and as an LEA admin, the reason why I'm talking about this is because you're going to be partnering with the CEPAs. So they may be coming to you and say, hey, you know what? I really need to see certain parts of CalPADS, and you guys would coordinate together. You would talk, you would ask them questions, you make them sign a paper saying, yeah, you're going to be responsible when you're in there. And then you may have to assign them, make an account for them to or assign the roles for that section for them, because they may need to look at some of that data. So you'll find out all that about in data population, which is coming next week. Okay, go back to home, and I'm going to switch to something that out of the CEPA realm, go to Berkeley training. This is our training account. Okay, so what I've just got through doing was I showed you how to get back to the home page. I showed you how to manipulate the left navigation. I showed you where to look to find out who CalPADS thinks you are, and I showed you how to modify who you are. That's the profile, log out, and a place you can get help. So let's get a little deeper than that. We got online maintenance. If you click on the online maintenance, you have the student data. Okay, what I just did, I brought the sub menu down for like that we're talking about here, and I glanced up here to make sure that I was in my CSIS Berkeley training. Now I'm confident when I click on this icon, that will happen instead of access denied. So when you're wanting to look for a student, this is where you would go, the student data maintenance. Why would you say that? It says search for student and request ID. Okay, so if one of you guys submit a ticket and say, where do I request a SSID? Where would that be at? That would be under student data maintenance and search for the student. Because if you have SSID, you can put it in in here like that and do the search. But if you don't have a SSID, what you would do, you're in your local system and you're just searching to make sure that what you have in your local system that is already corrected, because you've already been there, you've already done that, and you know that it's corrected, you would have that available for you. So what you're actually looking for is what's in CALPADS, because you got an error that's happened. You'll learn all about that in data population. What you would do, you can put in your actual student's name. No, not real student. You saw something just happen. This is one of the biggest problems that I've had to talk to people about, is the cache problem in the browser. Well, I really didn't type that in. That's not what I put in there. Maybe the browser put it in there for you through the cache. When I realized that this is the name I want, it went and found the closest thing to it and put it in the browser automatically. Okay, so this is called the student lookup, and you're looking up by demographics. It's also connected to request an ID. Why is that? If CalPads can't find that student, it's going to take you to another location where you can request the ID. That's why the slash is in there. And then you have search by enrollment. You can search by the school enrollment and search for the student like that. So if I go back here and I've got real student here, what else do we have on this page? We have where we can look up the student, or you can actually try to advanced search through request an ID. And we have these text boxes that you enter data in. Things that are not indicated there, it doesn't highlight for you, okay? This little thing here is just like the ones up before. It's a little question mark in red. It gives you a clue of what you need to enter in the text box. So that's a little helpful hint that comes up there. For dates, you can type the dates in, but I wouldn't recommend it because sometimes we get kind of sloppy with dates and stuff. You have this little icon here, which is a calendar icon. You click on that calendar icon, it brings this up. And the reason why I want to bring this in front of you, because the first time I used it, I was like, okay, I was, doing the simple thing that everybody else does, is arrow to go that way. So I'm going to click this to go to the left, and I'm going to click that to go to the right. It's going to take me 50 years to get to the date that I want. So the way this works, I clicked on that, brings up the calendar, and then you hit in the center. Click. Now it displays the months related to a single year. Okay, but today's date is still down there. Okay, but that's not the year I want. I want 2007. Okay, so I click it again. Now it's displaying a decade. So I just back up. I want 2007. Boom. Now I want the month of November. Boom. I want the 22nd. Boom. It's filled in. So if you get used to using it that way, you can get those enrollment start dates in, enrollment exit dates in, birth dates, all those dates in really quick, so you're not sitting there wasting 3, 4, 5 seconds typing when you can get it all in there in less than 2.5 seconds. So that's a cool thing. So I went through, you got the search function here, and you do a search. And Mr. Real didn't show up. And I need to find out why, because they did do let's see, a few more seconds here. Notice it's telling me something. There he is. Why was that? Why didn't he show up? They'll let you know in data population. Nate, take a note of that, please, and show them what I did wrong. I know you will. But here we go. Here it comes on the student details when I did the search with the SSID. Okay. Under the details, you have these little cards, these things I like to call cards, because it's a representation of the information that you entered in previously on the previous screen on the search for student breadcrumb screen. That information is populated automatically for you, okay? Then it brings in information that it already knows about the student here, right? That's in this top container. That's what you're going to see. But below that is the student details, exactly what this says. It's the details of the student. By clicking on this chevron, you can collapse or open that section. Boom, boom. You can span or contract that section, okay? So when you go in here, we're looking at the student information for that student. It's down there. You have different areas. Blue with underline means that you can sort ascending or descending, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, anywhere in CALPADS, blue with underline in a container means you can drill down to get more information. It's like called a hyperlink. And while we're on here, I'm going to give you a quick little tip. And it's getting close to 11 o'clock. It is 11 o'clock. We're going to take a break too, but after this break, and after I tell you about the rest of these containers here, we'll take a 10-minute break because I know you're probably getting tired of listening to my voice. So here's what the tip is. The thing in CALPADS is, the theme of CALPADS now is a team effort. Everybody, it takes a village. Everybody's working together to get the data in the proper place, in the proper way, in the proper hands, okay? So with that in mind, there's little ways that you can help yourself out instead of sitting there typing everything out, okay? On this screen, say if I needed to talk with my student English language acquisition person. I want them to take a look at this record because this guy does not have any information about, if he's an English learner or not. Okay, you'll learn about all this later. I'm just giving you a scenario so it builds a picture in your mind. I would click on this and I would look and I'd say, oh, I need to send the email, and that site person, I've given them access school level so they can see what I'm going to see. So I want them to go into CALPADS real quick and take a look and see what the problem is with that record. Okay, what you do is you go up here at the URL, highlight it, right click, copy it. You can open up a new browser, put it in a new browser, paste it, hit enter, boom. Once you hit enter, it takes it right to that same spot. Okay, the reason why I do it first, and the reason why I want to do it first, is I want to make sure that it takes it. CALPADS does take it there, or it didn't grab something from the cache and put it in there and takes them to a site that you don't want them to go to, or something like that. I want to test it first. Okay, once I've tested it, I copy that, paste it in the email, put a little blurb into it. None of this information up here is nothing you have to worry about the privacy part, because it's just including the SSID. And if they don't have rights access to that point, they will not be able to get to that point. So you can send them this through an email, okay? And when Susie Jones gets that email, and you have a list of 100 students she needs to go through, she can click on that link and it will take her directly to this section, and she's taking CALPADS Basic, so she knows she needs to click here and say, oh man, I forgot to give him that student's information. Let me get that information from the CUNE file and send it to him. That's good for one student, but what if they have 100? Okay, what you do is just copy this part of the URL. Boom, copy that part of the URL, okay? Paste it in a spreadsheet, grab the corner, bring it down so it copies 100 times, and then when you got the SSIDs for each one of those, have it in the next column, copy all those SSIDs down like that, then highlight the whole area and say merge cells. Boom, you just gave her 100 links so she can click on. And I mean, you still have to paste it in the email, but you just gave her 100 links that she can click on, and it will take her directly to this part. And you just saved her 30-40 minutes of trying to search through the menus to get to each individual one. So that's a little quick tip that you can use to actually be more efficient with navigation when you're trying to work with your teammates, your SEPA person or something like that. You get them in front of the information that they need, fast, easy, and efficient. Showed you the homepage, I showed you the organization, I showed you where you can see who you are, I showed you where you can get around, and we ended up in some students' details. In the student details, what you can do is another feature. There's a button here that's called open. Okay, what does that mean? When you click on that button, it opens what we call a Modal. It's a CALPADS Modal. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this little device. It's like a pop-up, so it's going to, but it pops inside. It doesn't pop up. It pops inside the actual browser, but it acts the same as a pop-up, okay? It gives you the title of where you're at the top. Then you have those little cards that you hit across the top there. Then all the information that you can't change will be grayed out. Okay, that's in there. Then you have the same navigational features as you have in all CalPads. You have the drop downs. You have the asterisk. That means that is required. You'll figure out all this information here when you're going through the actual CalPads population training with Nate and Kyron. And anytime you click a button, these are little buttons here. These little indicator buttons. Okay, click it here, you click it there. When it's not selected, it's clear. When it is selected, it's not clear. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The other things that you're going to see, you got a little helpful hint here. Fields marked with asterisk are required. So if you start clicking validate and you're getting all these errors, the first thing what you want to do, you want to look for that asterisk and make sure there's something in that box with it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Looks like everybody's back, so I'm going to clear that down. Okay. So you also have this button here. It's called validate. You click on that button and it validates what you put in here. The key thing about that you're going to find out in population is you can click validate all day long and nothing happens in CalPads until you click the next button that shows up. It's called post. Okay, looks just like that, but it appears up at the top. I'm not going into population training, so I won't do that part. And you can click to get out of anything in CalPads. You got the X at the top, and you have the cancel button at the bottom. So it's according to where you're at. If you're at the top of the page, cancel out of it. If you're at the bottom of the page, hit the cancel button. Okay, and that brings you back to the windows. Now, these are all containers for student details. This is everything that is represented in those records that you're putting in like that. And as I said before, click on it and it opens it and it closes it. Okay. At the bottom of the screen, you got some helpful information here. It's called the documentation. You got your data guide. That's vaguely referred to as sometimes as the all-knowing of CalPads. Okay, so anytime you have a pushback from manager or something saying why are you putting that data in there like that, you go to data guide, open it up in Word. In the top menu of Word, there's view navigation. Click that navigation, activate the navigation pane on the side like that, type in SSID, hit search. It brings up everything about SSID in the data guide. Look through the list, find what you want, click it, copy it, paste it in that email and say, this is why. It's because this is what the documentation states that has to be put in there so the state and federal government can use the data that we have. Okay. Then you have the SSID enrollment that tells you about everything about SSIDs. And then you have the error list, tells you when you get an error in CalPads, you'll go to the spreadsheet and you'll find that error code, like cert 001 or something like that. You'll learn about that in fall 1. And in there, you will see a definition of the error, what the error name is, and a clue on how to fix that error. So that's why I say that's your buddy list. CalPads Frequently asked questions is another link that you're getting there, and this is questions like someone's asked in the past. Was strong enough question that CDE took note of it and they gave an official answer for it. Okay, you'll go here, put it in. You can actually highlight the whole page, copy, paste it into Word, and then open up the navigation pane, and then you can start doing the same search, and then you can find your answer that way. Then the current known issues list. The keyword is current known issue list. There's a known issues list in the system and documentation link page too, but it's not as current as the one that lies inside of the CalPADS footer. So you as an admin, you want to go here to look for known issues when that page keeps saying access denied, or it turns into server error, or you click on the link and it takes you to the wrong page or something like that. Go here and see if it's listed, as CalPADS designers already know about it and they're working on it. That'll save you some headache. And then you got your valid code combo. You'll learn about that in fall too. Oh, one little point. If you're down at the bottom where you click here, it takes you to the top, okay? And then you can scroll. We're actually on slide 56. Under help, you have your system documentation, the error list we talked about, the user manual. Click on the user manual, what happens? It opens up in a new tab. Say we were talking about roles, you start typing in roles, and look what happens. It tells you the access roles, the user roles, and it gives you examples. It's really user friendly. It shows you how to use it. This is your friend. And so you put in SSID. There we go. Student search. SSID enrollment is what you're wanting them to give a little clue on what's going on. You click on that, and it starts talking about the SSID enrollment. It tells them a little bit about what's going on with that. So along with that link that you sent with them, you can copy this link and place it in there for them. And when they get that list of SSIDs, it drops them with the instructions that they need to go along with, if they need some help with that. So that's another little hint, because it's moving, you're moving more efficiently through CalPADS, and you're communicating more efficiently with your colleagues and your teammates and who you need to get the data from with CalPADS. You're giving them more time to help you help yourself, okay? Batch templates. Systems without the ability to create extracts to upload into CalPADS. This is where you can go, and all the batch templates are here that you would use. And there's Excel spreadsheet, the actual headers for each element of that file type at the top, and you can just populate that for that particular file type. Then you would go to here, and you can click on the upload. Once you click on upload, you get the upload page, and I got my breadcrumbs, and then I got my buttons to add. This will be covered in data population, but the buttons and the drop downs and the names are all the same. So it goes across the whole thing, okay? So once you've uploaded, once you've done that, then you can click the view submissions, which is here. This is the view submissions container. And what that does, it will populate, and you'll be able to see the location where you will be able to find out the information that came from your local system that you uploaded, and whether the records have passed or failed. So this is the view submission screen, and in here, this top area, all this area is a way you customize the amount of results that you have. Okay, keep that concept in mind. You can, if you only wanted to look at your enrollment, you click on that and make sure that you're in the right LEA setting. And if it's only you that's submitting in the data, then you'd leave it on all. If it's more than one, you can actually say, if you had someone at a site submitting the data, you can actually narrow it down to that person, the job ID, which is a good thing to bring to point. If you know the job ID, which is here like that, when you ask for service, say you're having 18 rejected errors and you got one that just can't figure out, it's a good idea to go ahead and give the job ID, because we can take and put that job ID in here and hit apply filters, and it will give us to that job ID, saving us time. But once you've got it all populated, then you click view. Once you click view, it's going to bring up the next page, and the next page will show you the details from the job ID that you submitted, the submitting time, the actual CDS number, job name, job type, submitter type, the file status, and you have different file statuses here. You'll figure out all of this when you get into the actual population class, posted, passed, revision date, and action. It brings you to this screen here. Guess what? You got those cards across the top. CalPADS is playing poker with you. It throws these cards up at you first. So you can take a look and say, okay, this is the right record that I'm working on. There's that job ID again. And then you go through, and these are the errors that you're finding. The summary tells you about the errors. Then you can go down and you got your errors and warnings. And you have the open button, just like it looks exactly like on the student detail page, that does the same thing. It brings up a modal. In that modal, it gives you the information that's in here, a little more detail about that information. And these are the tops. So say if you wanted to, you got a whole list of 250,000 errors, you want to put them in order by name, you just click on the link there, and CalPADS will adjust it into ascending or descending order. You see the little arrow that come in there like that. Okay, and then across the bottom, CalPADS displays 10 items at a time. So it displays the first 10, then you can go to the second page, it'll display the next 10 all the way up to 10,000, okay, or more. Let's hope you never get to 10,000 errors for any reason. Over on the side, you got a show hide filter here. You can click on that and it will hide that portion of the screen, and it will show that portion of the screen. Same thing up here. In the browser, we're being more efficient. We're bringing it up to where we can see it, so we don't have to use this old-fashioned scroll bar. This is the view submission. This is the details. This is this breadcrumbs that goes across the view submission, and then we can go back to the home page. Okay, perfect. So we got the containers in the middle. It's giving me information. It's telling me that the foster data has been reported. The direct cert is ready. All that kind of information is there. And you got your extract information. Let's talk about extracts. Where do I get the information I want to get out of CalPADS that I may want to put back into my local system? That is called extracts, because you're extracting the data out of the local system. From the left nav, where we were before, is here. Extracts, right? From the center container, you can go to any extracts that you've already submitted to get by just clicking on that, the blue letters with the underline. As I said before, it is an indicator. CalPADS is telling you there's more if you just click. Okay, so if we go to extracts, and it brings us to the extracts page. Okay, on the extracts page, you have across the top, request an extract. And these are all the extracts you can request across through here. So ODS for extracts, remember, what about the ODS? You'll be able to get the current data when you extract, okay? Then you have your SSID extracts, because it was mirrored in CalPADS, and it's the exact same thing that you had previously. You can download it from here. From that point is a starting point for you to be able to actually have some information to start all over again. Candidate lists, you have your candidate list if the students that need to be put in CalPADS. Then you have your rejected errors list. This is here. And that's if you have a bunch of errors and you just want to get a copy of those errors from the records that you put in. It's there. Say, When you go through the anomalies, you'll run into a thing called mid. I'm just talking about it, so don't worry about it right now, because when you get into the anomaly training, it will be explained to you in detail. But when you have a mid, that means one student has two identifiers. Okay, the person that owns that mid, they correct it. It's a different SSID than what you have in your system. You can download a copy of the replacement SSIDs right here. Direct cert, that reports, you can get an extract right here from that. And for the new CALPADS, case miss to CALPADS, this is for the SEPA admin, this is an area where they can go and get a discrepancy extract for it like that. But once you click on that and you determine which extract you're going to get like that through the modal, what happens is you can click on, it will go into this process here, and it will say processing is status, and when it's done, it will say download. Now, just as a hint, in case someone decides to do it now, there's a way you can tell whether or not the operation failed or the operation is correctly downloaded what you want. And that's over on the far right hand side, file size. If that file size says 0 bits, that means that no data was pulled. That's a blank file. That means that something you select, maybe it was the time frame that you selected, maybe it was you were really trying to get some other type of data and you didn't correctly determine that type of data that you wanted to get. Boom, boom. And maybe the date range that you tried to use, that data is not in that date range, and you went ahead and you submit it. CalPads is not going to be the Wizard of Oz and say, you can't submit that data. No, it's going to take it in there and it's going to create a blank file for you and say complete, because it's not going to look at the data. So that's when you extract data. The first thing you do after it gets here is look and see what the status is. Is complete? Yes, it's complete. Then you just go over here and see the file size and make sure it says it's above 0. But if it says it's 0, don't even bother looking at it, because it's just an empty file. Okay, that's extract. That's requesting extract. Let's talk about reports real quick. With the reports, if we go to the ODS reports, like we said, it gives you a list of the ODS reports as of 10 p.m. the previous day. So it tells you right here, any data you look at in here, if something's changed at 10:01 or 10:02, it's not going to show up in these reports. Let's go to, I don't think I told you about this right here. This is a quick way to actually to the main details too. So if you go through online maintenance, it takes you to student data maintenance. But if you go through quick search, it takes you right to the information for the student. So same thing for the staff. If you have a list of SSIDs, you can send the SSIDs or use the SSIDs here, and it will take you directly to that. Now, a lot of times what you want to do is, say if you're working on multiple things, you remember how I told you to copy this, copy it to a new tab, and that way you can switch back and forth and get through the tabs. So let's go to the LEA approval process under the actual certification status. So when you click on certification status, it opens the certifications status LEA approval screen. Across the top, you have this information that revalidates that you are who you are, the LEA, and you can change whichever year, whatever year you're working in. And I'm saying this because usually right at the end of year, keep this in mind, at the end of year, they will switch this screen over to the next year. Okay, so you got to make sure that when you look for information, or when you go after information, that you're glance here and make sure that it's the correct year. And usually this will automatically populate with fall 1, but you do have the option to switch it like that. And then you do the search. When you do the search, you have the result field. When the results come in, I'm concentrating on fall 1, It's telling me all this information here. You'll learn all that in the report and certification class. You go in here, and this is what you as an LEA admin will be looking at. This is the screen that you would do your approval for. So you got your cards across the top. Remember, CalPADS love to do that. You have your status here. This will change. You have a checkbox you can use. Same concept across CalPADS. Then you have your required SEPA approval stuff. This will show up. You have this filter here. When you click on that filter, it gives you the same options as is in Excel that you can use. You can sort. If you have multiple, you can sort. You can go through and make it, the containers adjust themselves, customize themselves to what you're looking for. Then you got your validate for the errors and the warnings right in here too, right? Okay. Then you got your filters, CDS codes and messages and severity, all that. And then you got your reset, all the filters and apply. Same. It's like the same never-ending story, you know. It's the same thing, okay? Then down at the bottom, here's the certification reports. These are the snapshot reports, okay? You go click on it, and we'll bring them up the snapshot report. I'm going to do this just by chance. I'm going to open it in another window. Right click, open it in another tab, okay? And I'm going to let that run while I talk. And so the aggregate reports, then you got your supplemental reports down at the bottom. This is something that I want to emphasize and let you guys understand. Okay, snapshot history. This is another area. This is a good place for informational when you get into doing the Fall 1 certification. You want to pay attention to this area because this tells when the last time something happened. Okay, it's kind of like a history point. That's why it says history. So you'll go in and look here if you're not seeing what you expect to happen up here. Say you corrected the errors and the errors are still showing the same. You go down here and look in the history and see if you got another snapshot, you know, and you can also look here to see if you got another snapshot. So I'm going to take a quick look and see if the report's open. So it's dead in the water. Let's move back to the PowerPoint. Okay. We went through all this. These are all things, like I said before, it shows you everything you need to know, everything we covered, and it's a good point for you guys to actually get in there. Even here, when you get into this part, when we were talking about the user manual, there's some scenarios in here that will give you a clue on how to do the roles. Now, this right here, this is something you can use to actually send to the people that you decide to give access to roles to help give you more confidence that they understand that you gave them the roles that they need. Here's some ideals, you know, of how to assign the roles. Site secretary, you know, what roles would they need? There's notes in here too, which roles we suggest that you give them. And you'll be able to use that later on. Same thing with the LEA, which roles in SEPA that they have. Okay, so I'm going to try to find where I was with the reports because the reports are not running. And where'd the reports go? PowerPoints. There we go. Okay, reports. This is what the reports look like. Once you get in as a new user, I know some of you are not exactly new users, which means you probably have touched the reports before, and there are some that may have never done done reports in CalPADS. You'll get used to it, and you'll get really, really used to it when you do Fall 1 certification and reports training. They'll go on details. My job here is to show you what it looks like and what you can do with it. So the reports will come up like that. This is the one I was trying to get us to. Okay. And at the bottom, at the top of the reports, you're going to have a, I wonder if I have a copy. No. You're going to have some areas, the same filtering across, one that will go across here that will actually show you advance the page or go back on the page. But the main one looks like a little bitty icon of a floppy disk. And I bet a lot of you people don't even know what a floppy disk is, because that's a long time ago. We use thumb drives, but it's a icon of a floppy disk. And when you click on it, it says Save As. What you can do when you click Save As, it will allow you to save it as an Excel spreadsheet. And that's the one that you want. These documents, once you get it drilled down to the information you really want to look at, save it as a Excel spreadsheet, and then you can use the Excel filtering, the Excel lookups, all the little functions of Excel, because you guys are expert at Excel. You can use that to narrow it down and get to the data that you want. But inside CalPads, you have the ability, when you have that underline, as I said before, when you click on that underline, it will drop it down to what we call an aggregate report. The aggregate report breaks it down to the student level, okay? So the top level is broken down by the school or district, okay? When you click on this, it's going to bring you to the actual aggregate level of data, where it breaks it down to just the student and everything, the actual student level, like that. So that's basically the reports. Other than that, there's a place in the user manual. You go to the user manual and type in report mapping guide. For whatever report you're on, type in report mapping guides, and it breaks down each one of these cells into what they mean, these elements into what they mean, and how that number became that number from the data that you put in your local system and mirrored into CalPads. Okay, so this 6, if you go in the report mapping guide of 1.1 and you go to title, title 1 part C, migrant, like that, in there's an actual report mapping guide that breaks down, that lets you know which fields elements that you put in to CalPads that makes this number look like a 6. Okay, and then you can break it down even further by clicking on the here, and you'll see the actual element that you put in a no in for English learner, like that. And that's how the basics of reports. Okay, and later on we're going to try to do some documentation tips, so ways to get through that a little further too. So you got that to look forward to. So we went through extracts. Today's Friday. We went through extracts and we went through the user manual. Let's wrap it up. Okay. In the wrap up, what items did you do today? You went and you attended CalPads Basic. Your own target. Your LEA application is up to date. You should be right now doing SSID request, entering that in your enrollment. Make sure your local system's up to par. Then you want to review the user list in the user management to make sure that who has a role, deserves that role, and needs that role, and that Joanne somebody who used to work there 10 years ago doesn't still have access to CalPads. Okay, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you go into that area and check out, make sure that who has that role deserves that role. Then you want to, on the double, you want to create a plan. Start creating a plan now. And part of that plan is associating yourself and getting yourself comfortable with talking and communicating with the SEPA admin, so that you guys, when you get to that process, you remember that screen I showed you before, the one that showed the LEA approval screen? Up above in the center, it said SEPA approval status, because they have to do it too. You'll learn about that in fall 1. So you want to create a local calendar is what I'm saying. Something local that's going to keep you on track and make sure that you get what you need. This is a start guide. It's in your PowerPoint presentation. Suggestions of what you need to do. Okay. One thing that I did want to show you was under here, admin tool, manage local codes. I got a question about that. If you have a system where your system vendor created codes that seem, what I want to say, seem to reflect what they wanted you to say, but it's different from what's in CalPADS, this is where you go. You go admin, manage local codes. In this area, you still have the breadcrumbs, you have your manage local codes header like that. I am CSIS Berkeley, and I'm in this academic year, and it's telling me that's the respective reference code. You grab that, and this gives you ideas of what you're dealing with, okay? Say we deal with gender. Then you got your actions that you want to take. You click on add a new record. This modal pops up. It gives you two options, okay? The two options is it tells you what's in CalPADS. So for a female in CalPADS, it's an F. And it also gives you all of the state codes in CalPADS. Say, that's not what I want. I was talking about a male in your local system. So they said the code is guy. Once you do that and you click save, when you draw that extract out of your local system and that populates that text file, the comma delimited text file, and for gender, it says guy all the way down through there for 10,000 students. CalPADS won't care. Like I said before, CalPADS doesn't care if it's right or not. It just makes sure that it mirrors what you're trying to put in your local system and in CalPADS system. So this is the way to make CalPADS understand. In my local system, I have to put guy, but in your system, the same thing for that is M for male. Okay, you click save, and from that point on, until you change it, it will look at that local system information element, and it will say, oh, guy, okay, they really meant to put M, and it will make that connection, and it eliminate all those errors, that 10,000 errors for those people. Okay, how do you handle that? So with that, it's important that the student information data is reported and updated throughout the year. There's that cement foundation that you're dealing with. You know, don't do like people have done years and years and years. I'm too busy. I can't work with CalPADS. Set aside time to there. If you have a problem where you can't find that time, a support ticket in, something like that, asking for CalPADS data is used. In that document, it states how that data is important, that the data that you're putting in your local system is important. It tells what happens if that data doesn't get in there correctly. So, and you can take that to that manager or whoever it is that's saying, you know, you only need like a week to get that done. And so a week before the deadline, I'll give you some time. You can take that to them and say, no, I need to work on this every week, you know, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. When a student is legal names change, you want to use the alias. These are little things that came across that always get you at, you know, at the last minute like that. So this is something you can use to refer back to if you run into one of those roadblocks like that. So here's the resources. This is where you're going to be getting your resource from. And it's not, I see a change that I need to make. You got bridge. That's where you came through the day. You bridge the gap between not knowing and knowing. Okay, this is the URL that you'll be going to, and as I said before, we have a YouTube channel. With the YouTube channel, you'll find information for what you want there, and you have your CalPADS documentation. This is where you can find PowerPoints, any other documentation that's related to what you're looking for. You can find it on the documentation reference, support reference, and then you have your CSIS website resources. This is where you'll find your PowerPoints and any other resources that we determine will help you That's what we're here. We're here to help you. And here is the actual links to the support. Okay. The main thing that we usually can get up on the pedestal and talk about, because CalPADS is web-based and support is web-based, this is the best way to actually get in contact and get support, the fast way of doing it. Because if you use email, which is this right here, what happens? The email comes in, goes into the mailbox does a rule that brings that to a system that converts what you said into a web page and then submits it for you. That's a two-step process. Here, it's the same thing. It listens to that voicemail, and then it tries to decide what you're trying to say, and it creates a ticket and puts it in a web form, and then we as support gets it and try to figure out exactly what they wanted to say and have to call you back and figure out like that. And finally, we have the listserv. This is a listserv. And you want to join the listserv. Not only this one, the one from CalPADS listserv, you want to join both of those. A lot of times the chatter starts when there's a problem. You'll start hearing about it or start getting a hint about it in the listserv before it gets to that important message container on your home screen. I want to say thank you and have a good day. It's Friday. It's Friday.